but I am going to talk briefly about the Action on Disability, the framework, the right to independent living. And it is good to be back in the role portfolio to be able to try and progress this meaningfully, having been involved back when we brought together the previous framework for independent living. We've got to move on and show progress, but we couldn't be here today. At that time, out of a petition which came together, the original framework back in 2013, again, the work that you've all played, the roles that many of you have played in moving forward with our framework today. But we only know we make progress in delivering the aims of the framework and the action plan if we work with disabled people and you inform us and engage with us in terms of delivery. I will only know as well when the whole of the Welsh Government recognises their responsibility. I might be the one who's badgering them and asking for feedback and getting implementation plans, but the whole of the Welsh Government, as Rhiannon said, have got responsibilities in this framework. So we have to have it a cross-government response. It has to be delivered, developed and refreshed, working in partnership with disabled people and using the principles of co-production to get the best outcomes. Because we all want the same objective, the goal for all disabled people to have the same freedom, dignity, choice and control as everyone else, at home, at work, in education and in the community. Independent living is about ensuring people are able to enjoy well-being, decent housing, a full social life, access to appropriate support when needed, and the way in which they want it and need it. So whilst we in the Welsh Government must provide national leadership, we also need a local delivery and leadership as well. So local authorities, local health boards, as well as the third sector, businesses, have all got to work together with disabled people to identify barriers, find solutions and deliver on the framework. And when we consider the vital tasks carried out by our public bodies, our public boards who have a lot of responsibility in Wales, it's crucial that disabled people are there. It's crucial that disabled people are elected representatives, but that also that they're in public appointments represented on boards, and having disabled people in those central governance roles can transform the way organisations work and deliver their services, because they have to then actually reflect the actual needs of people rather than the assumptions of others. And the framework makes this a key aim, and I hope we are making progress in creating a new strategy to help make this aim a reality. The framework is an important part of the wider work we're doing to strengthen and advance equality and human rights in Wales. Because as we've said, and Rhiannon has said, the need has never been greater for us to speak up and work together to defend people who are vulnerable, who have faced discrimination. Hate crime has been mentioned, and of course we saw those hate crime statistics only a couple of weeks ago. Defending our international relationships and obligations is a crucial aspect of this, so I'm very pleased that the new framework highlights and reinforces the UN Convention on the Rights of Disabled People, and you've made that a hallmark of your introductory remarks, Rhiannon, this morning. The new framework, again, we're reflecting each other, which is good in terms of my contribution, underpinned by the social model of disability, which recognises the need for society to be transformed, removing barriers so that disabled people are able to fully participate. And glad that we've remembered the work of Professor Mike Oliver first at the start of this conference. But in the 1990s, when disabled people were campaigning for civil rights, I remember the badges and banners which said, "Nothing about us without us." And actually that was said at the launch in Bridgend with the coalition, Bridgend Coalition, "Nothing about us without us." It's such a powerful and true statement, but we must be listening again to that statement and making it real. So we're committed to promoting the social model through our new framework. That means the whole of the civil service, public bodies, they've all got to understand, public authorities, what does the social model mean? we've got to actively promote the model and make it work. We have had, some of you been involved in some of the meetings that we've had, the engagement events with disabled people and disability organisations. And we have to use the social model to review the delivery of our framework. It was very much used in terms of commenting on and responding to the original framework. There are still gaps in our framework, which we only published a few weeks ago, and I recognise that, and that's why it's got to be a living document. We know that it doesn't fully reflect the current situation on social care, and I wanted to comment just briefly on the Welsh Independent Living Grant. I was very pleased to get some feedback on this issue. Of course, we've got some good work underway in terms of the Welsh Independent Living Grant, and I think now just to say that local authorities in Wales have the responsibility, of course, to assess and meet the social care and support needs of all disabled people, including those who used to receive payments under the Welsh Independent Living Grant. And that's so that all disabled people are supported through a consistent approach to live independent lives in the community. So I understand over 1,200 former recipients of the Welsh Independent Living Grant are now having their care needs met through their local authority or having direct payments from their authority to arrange their care themselves. And this is good news, of course, but we have to also make sure that the transition has worked well. And I met with Julie Morgan just a few weeks ago, the Deputy Minister for Health and Social Services, for an update on her action to respond to the campaign and concerns about the Welsh Independent Living Grant. And I was very pleased to hear that the fact that there are now independent care assessments taking place as a result of requests and her action. But I think that is also how we have to learn about what does it mean, the social model, what does it mean also to have a person-centred approach to our framework to supporting people's well-being. That's very much underpinning the Social Services and Wellbeing Act, giving people voice and control of their care and support, seeking services to be delivered through the lens of the social model. But we have, of course, an action plan accompanying our new framework, and that's the one which we need to look through and say, well, where have you got with this? Which minister's responsible? How are we getting progressing with the implementation? And of course, it covers transport, employment, housing, access to buildings and places. And the action plan will be refreshed, and we will add new actions and as new policies emerge. Supporting people to live their lives in the way they choose is the right thing to do, and I want to see this new framework used to encourage that action by disabled people for disabled people across the whole of Wales. So that does mean we have to meet, we have a Disability Equality Forum, we have to regularly check progress and also identify new issues and needs, the Strategic Equality Board, continuing to ensure that we have accountability against the framework and action plan, continuing to engage with disabled people. We've also got a new specialist policy advisor for disability, recently appointed by the First Minister, who's going to work across the Welsh Government, because it is, as I said, about cross-government working also between national and local bodies. Now, I've said, and Rhian has said, and you know, we live in uncertain times, so we must use all our leadership and resource to respond to that. The UK's exit from the EU, if it happens, how it happens, continues to bring immense uncertainty, not least in relation to equality and human rights. So I just want to say a couple of words about this, because we are seeking to take action to safeguard equality and human rights, particularly in the context of Brexit, in several ways. Commencing the socio-economic duty in Part 1 of the Equality Act 2010 is one of our key objectives, and shortly you will be consulted about how we're taking that forward. It will require certain Welsh public bodies to consider the impact of their decisions on the poorest people and groups that they serve. Secondly, reviewing the Welsh-specific duties under the Public Sector Equality Duty. Thirdly, working with the Equality and Human Rights Commission in Wales to review that public sector equality duty monitoring and reporting arrangements so that we get better equality data and reports from Welsh public bodies and that they're easy to find and understand, because I think, and some of you have been involved in some of the consultation about this, it is still hard to see how those very important public sector equality duties are being implemented. But finally, and most importantly, commissioning that research on wider options to strengthen and advance equality and human rights in Wales, considering how we could incorporate the UN conventions into Welsh law, whether there may be need for new, fresh legislation, such as a human rights bill for Wales. And we are expecting that research to be with us by the end of next year. All this work is overseen by a steering group. I chair that. I'm delighted that Rhiannon Davies is a member of that group, ensuring the voices of disabled people are represented. And finally, at the heart of the Welsh Government's ambitions for Wales sits our ambition for equality, to achieve equality of outcome for everyone. I did recently launch a consultation on the strategic equality objectives for the next 4 years, and I hope you will respond to those proposed objectives before 19th of November, when the consultation closes. But I finish by saying Welsh Government can't deliver this work without your skills, knowledge and experience, and I give this my firm commitment to you again. There will be nothing about you without you. Diolch yn fawr.